What's up, everybody? This is Wolfgang von Latman from chaliceofimmortality.com. Today in this video, I want to speak a little bit about adrenal fatigue. So, believe me, I've done plenty of research on adrenal fatigue, back and forth through it, and for a long period of time, I was convinced that I had something along the lines of adrenal fatigue. Now, there's many different ideas of what adrenal fatigue actually is. A lot of people question on whether it actually exists or if it's a true condition or not. And generally, conventional medicine doctors don't really think about it. They don't think it exists, and they don't really test for it, yada yada. Now, the symptoms of adrenal fatigue. There's many, depending on what your idea of adrenal fatigue actually is. So first and foremost, the nature of the label, adrenal fatigue, basically just means your adrenal glands have been overstressed and they're fried to the point where they cannot produce adrenal hormone. At least that's what it really technically is when people talk about adrenal fatigue. That's what they should mean, or that's what they do mean. So, feelings of being really, really tired all the time. You just aren't able to get up and go. You don't have the energy to do anything, or maybe just feelings of being burnt out. Lethargy, symptoms of lethargy. Let's see, what else? Brain fog, not being able to sleep at night, or sleeping too much throughout the day. Yada yada yada. The list goes on. Now, the true nature of adrenal fatigue is basically either a tangible, real deficiency of adrenal hormones or symptoms that seem to be related to a deficiency of adrenal hormones. Adrenal hormones, and this is very important here, if you really want to get serious about adrenal fatigue, they include things like cortisol, aldosterone, okay, antidiuretic hormone. People don't know that these are all related. And then, of course, thyroid hormone, testosterone, and then things like prolactin, dopamine, and then, of course, adrenaline, noradrenaline, or epinephrine, norepinephrine, depending on where you are. They're referred to as different things in different parts of the world. And the list does go on. Insulin is also related to this. Melatonin is related to this. GABA is indirectly related to this. And obviously glutamate is as well. And these are actually neurotransmitters, which I don't look at as hormones, but some people call them hormones, but they're not. Anyway, so basically when you have adrenal fatigue, you can have symptoms of electrolyte imbalances and fluid imbalances because imbalances of cortisol directly relate to imbalances of aldosterone, which is a hormone responsible for retention of sodium and fluid in the cells. Now, when you don't have enough sodium in the cells, your cells cannot take up water. So essentially, low or imbalance of aldosterone can equal dehydration through mineral balance. And that very condition can actually cause stress and all the symptoms related to adrenal fatigue. So is it, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the mineral imbalances that caused this so-called adrenal fatigue, or is it the adrenal fatigue that caused the mineral imbalances? So when you really think of this condition as adrenal fatigue, it gets very confusing. And the thing is, a lot of people, they go around thinking they have adrenal fatigue or candida, and they wonder why. They try everything. They try the candida diet, or they try the protocols that people say are proven to cure these conditions. They wonder why they never get better. It's because your way of thinking of your so-called condition is faulty. So you think you have this disease called adrenal fatigue, and maybe you got some tests done. Usually people just assume that that's what it is, adrenal fatigue, because they got the symptoms but never been tested for adrenal hormones and whatnot. So let's make a practical approach to this. Okay, this is what I really want to get down to here. I believe that it's not effective to see this as adrenal fatigue. You have to understand there's so many causes of these symptoms, and it might not be, like, oh, I gotta lower my cortisol, or I gotta mess with my cortisol, blah, blah, blah. So listen, the symptoms of adrenal fatigue can be caused by imbalance of sleep. So I know a lot of people who their sleeping isn't right, and there might be something off about their sleep, and they feel groggy throughout the day. Well, that's a direct cause of, lethargy and all these symptoms that you might think of as adrenal fatigue. And actually, they can cause your adrenal hormones to act up. They can cause more adrenaline to be released. They can cause, brain fog, and but they can actually cause adrenal hormones to be in balance. Okay, because your sleep is directly tied to cortisol. So, and in that case, if it's your sleep that's the problem, the solution is not to take your sleep more seriously. The solution is to relax about your sleep and just sleep as best as you can. People think that they need more sleep, but it's actually the amount of deep sleep, and mainly deep sleep. And deep sleep is and when I talk about deep sleep, I mean specific sleep cycle. There's REM sleep, there's non-REM sleep, there's deep sleep, there's light sleep. You need more deep sleep, okay? 1 hour minimum, but to feel your best, 1.5 hours and 2 hours a day of deep sleep is the best from my experiments. And how do I know about this? I got this thing called a Fitbit here, and it measures my heart rate, and depending on my heart rate, it can actually measure my sleep cycles while I'm sleeping. It can measure sleep cycles, and I find this to be a great tool, and I found it to be very useful and very relevant and accurate to how I act throughout the day. And it's a great tool to figure out what's going on with your sleep. A lot of people just don't know how to wake themselves up. There's that. And then there's also just, faulty diet patterns, okay? So if you're eating foods that people tend to react badly to, such as dairy, big one, okay? Dairy can definitely cause brain fog, and they can cause bacterial overgrowth in the intestine. It can cause all sorts of problems that you didn't realize were caused by diet. If you think you have adrenal fatigue, or if you're having some strange anxiety symptoms or something like that, cut out dairy. Zero dairy, okay? And people, they freak out when they hear about this. Like, oh, I can't live without dairy. Like, listen, if you want to feel your best, it's not that fucking hard to cut out dairy if you want to feel great. If you have this problem, you're crying, you're looking up all this, you're researching all this information on the internet, how about you just take action? Just cut out the dairy and for a month and see what happens. Cut out the dairy, cut out grains. Now, if you're going to eat grains, stick to jasmine white rice, white jasmine rice, and really that should be the only grain you stick to for a while. Cut out the wheat, cut out corn, cut out beans, legumes, cut these things out. I know, everyone thinks that they're so nutrient dense and they're so healthy for you, but I'm telling you, this is likely causing you problems, okay? And I'm only telling you to do this for a month to see what kind of results you get. But you have to be vigilant. You have to be 100%. If you add them back in, you should feel the difference right away. If you go without these for a week, you should feel a difference, okay? Gas and bloating. If you have gas and bloating and you also think you have adrenal fatigue, chances are you're suffering from digestive dysfunction. And following these dietary recommendations that I'm giving you will probably help. I mean, and before I even begin, like with the grains and the dairy, what about the processed sugar? Do you drink Gatorade? Do you drink sugar-free sodas or sugar-free drinks? If you do, like, what the fuck are you doing thinking you have adrenal fatigue? You're eating bullshit. Obviously, you're gonna feel like crap. So, cut out these sugar-free things, the frozen foods, fast food, cut all this nonsense out. If you have to eat out, white rice, if they don't have jasmine, white rice should be fine. And then just, meat, rice, and vegetables. The vegetables you consume, they should be the easy digesting vegetables. Okay. If you have gas and bloating after you eat, that means you ate some type of grain or legume or some type of plant food that is having a tough time being broken down in the intestine. It's not a good thing to be chronically bloated or gassy. And the funny thing is, a lot of people think that they're fat, but they don't realize they're actually just bloated. They have gas, they're eating foods that are not being digested efficiently, and they have fluid retention and mineral imbalances. So get your diet straight. Get all the processed sugar out, any kind of sugar, isolated sugar, baked products. Just get all the grains, get all the sugar, get all the dairy, and get it out of your diet. And if you have trouble digesting meat, well, there's another clue into your problem right there. Inefficient stomach acid production. If you feel like meat just sits in your stomach like a log, that has nothing to do with meat. That's your digestive system. If you have acid reflux, that means you're not producing enough stomach acid. Your stomach is too alkaline. Stop taking antacids. Okay? Oh, and medications. This is, another subject, but this is another thing, whole nother thing. Medications. Okay? If you're on any kind of antidepressant, if you're on birth control, if you're on any kind of steroids or cortisone, thyroid medication, if you've had surgery on your thyroids or on your gallbladder, on your liver, on your testicles, if you've had surgeries, if you have medications, you need to think about this. This will definitely cause these issues, especially on the thyroid or anything like that. If you have chronic infections, if you take allergy medications, any kind of over-the-counter drug or pharmaceutical, or any kind of prescription, yeah, these are going to cause problems. But anyway, back to the diet. Damn, I forgot where I left off. Oh yeah, stomach acid. People think that when they have acid reflux, it's actually too much stomach acid. Actually, that's usually bile being shot up through your esophagus due to a alkaline stomach. If you're taking baking soda thinking it's a health food, stop doing that. That's alkalizing your stomach, and that's actually imbalancing your whole body's pH, because different parts of the body need to be different pHs. If you, your stomach needs to be acidic, your blood should be alkaline, your certain parts of your colon should be alkaline. And when this is thrown off, like people say, pH is a myth, like your body does a great job regulating your pH, and that's true. If your stomach is, is too alkaline, it's going to attempt to pull minerals from other parts of your body to acidify your stomach again. But that's throwing off the pH of the rest of your body, and the main priority is your blood. So, people just talk nonsense and don't actually understand it. Anyway, back to this chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue thing. Get your stomach acid on check. Start taking apple cider vinegar. Stop drinking alkaline water. That shit is horrible for you. Horrible for your digestion. Apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon or two before meals. That way you can digest your nutrients properly. That way your digestive system doesn't take all the blood flow and circulation. And take it easy. Rest while you eat. Rest after you eat. Don't get in any stressful situation after you eat. That's going to take all your energy. Of course, you're going to feel chronically fatigued if you have inefficient digestion. So stick this meat, vegetables, and rice, and you'll be fine. Get your digestion on check. There's no such thing as, meat rotting in the colon. Believe it or not, look it up. That's actually plants. And this is not an anti-veganism thing. This is just my own advice for people who have digestive problems. You may find another diet to work for you, but this is my advice, okay? And if you don't have these digestion problems, then don't worry about it. But stay away from the processed crap. But since this video has already gone on 15 minutes, I'm going to get to the next point without going too in depth. Your brain, your mind, your mindset. Okay, if you're always like worrying, that's not adrenal fatigue. That's worrying too much. Excessive worry is partly related to blood sugar imbalances. If you get the diet on check, you still have chronic worrying. It's a brain thing. It's you can take tonic herbs to balance out your neurochemistry. Tonic herbs are so much better than amino acids. As a last resort, taking theanine, about 200 to 400 milligrams before you go to bed, will relax you like nothing, like crazy. But things like Go-To Cola, things like Gynostemma. Gynostemma is great. I like those. I think Gynostemma is the best. It seems to have the universal effect, great effects on everyone. Make sure you get a high quality loose leaf Gynostemma tea. Learn how to brew it. I think I have videos on that. Also, you can get it in pill form. I think Paradise Herbs, they have like a 6-to-1 extract in capsule form, and that seems to work amazing. I take it before I go to bed because it helps me sleep, and I feel so much more balanced when I do so. Goji berry tea is great too. This will help to relax you quite a bit, but you should really just learn to let go. You've got to allow life to go as it may. You see, right now I'm at a point where I'm like, I gotta take action in my life, I gotta engage myself. But if you're in that state of consciousness where everything is just overwhelming, you've gotta first just go with the flow. Go with the flow and take the pressure off yourself for a while. Until eventually you get so bored of everything being okay that you want to start worrying again. But right now you just gotta it's okay if I don't get enough sleep. It's okay if I'm late to work. It's okay if I don't have enough money. Everything's going to be okay. And if it's important, take care of it. Like, for example, the most important thing is having enough money to eat, and then eating healthy and exercising. Make those a priority. Work and find a job that doesn't suck the soul out of you, but allows you enough money to buy what you need. And then buy what you need, healthy food, and then exercise, and then just sleep as best you can. Stay away from people who make you worry, and just try to buy into belief systems that will help bring the pressure off you. Go with the flow, law of attraction, everything happens for a reason, that type of thing. And by the way, there's no such thing as good or bad, thinking makes it so. And the fact is, any belief you have in your head is going to give you the results you believe it will give you. So don't listen to these dumb people who say, oh, it's a placebo, it's not reality. Listen, do you want results, or do you want, to be scientifically correct? Fuck that. Get results, man. You need to care about your life, not what other, the science, blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. It works, so what the fuck? Just let go for a while. After about 2 to 3 months of just relaxing, not caring what people think of you and this kind of thing, you'll feel so much more relaxed and at ease, which is the opposite of this adrenal fatigue thing. And if you actually have an adrenal problem, all of these tips I'm giving you also help to regulate your hormones. If you don't worry so much and you let go, what do you think is going to happen? Your body will be able to efficiently produce cortisol, which is necessary for energy, and you'll feel so much better, and your hormones and neurochemistry will heal themselves. This is the way to heal your physical hormones and neurochemistry, but it's also just a practical approach to relaxing. It's a common sense thing, but people try to be too scientific about it. So yeah, and back onto the science thing, the mechanism of action here when it comes to adrenal fatigue is, so this is the reality of what would happen in a case of adrenal sufficiency, is hormones and neurotransmitters tend to have a negative feedback loop, I believe you could say, which would mean, for example, with testosterone, there's only so much testosterone that you can, boost before your body naturally produces estrogen to balance it out. If you start to take exogenous testosterone, like a steroid, your testosterone production will be so high, eventually your body's going to stop producing it naturally, and it's going to start to try to counteract that by producing antagonist hormones, which will bring your testosterone back down and raise your estrogen levels. The same thing goes for insulin, okay? So with insulin, you have insulin receptor sensitivity, and then you also have insulin itself. And just like with testosterone and any other neurotransmitter or hormone, when you chronically elevate insulin from eating too much isolated sugar and inefficient carbohydrates, you could say, insulin metabolism stops or slows down because your body's produced so much insulin, it doesn't have enough insulin to produce anymore, so to speak. So it starts to downregulate insulin, which is insulin resistance. People think of diabetes as just like, oh, it's an isolated condition, has nothing to do with other hormones and blah blah. No. It works the same way. Neurotransmitters. So the more neurotransmitters, the more dopamine your brain produces, the less sensitive the receptors get, because they can only take up so much dopamine. Okay? So think of it this way. So the more adrenaline your body produces, the more adrenal hormones you're pumping out, the less sensitive it gets. So for example, with caffeine, the more caffeine you drink, the more of a tolerance you get to it, to where it doesn't affect you the same way. The more stressed you are all the time, the harder your body can deal with stress, depending on what it is. I mean, chronic worrying. But if you constantly subject yourself to uncomfortable, stressful situations, you'll build a tolerance to it over time, and you can deal with more stressful situations. But if you're always worrying and never solving anything, never being productive about it, that's going to take a toll on your body and your brain, and you could think of, your adrenal system is just shutting down. All right, so that's the way to think about all of this. I gave you the science, I gave you the practical solutions to all of this, and obviously everything that I mentioned, I want to just go into deeper detail, but I know most people aren't going to want to sit through 50 minutes of me talking about all this shit. So that's 23 minutes of how to solve adrenal fatigue and how to think about it. Okay? I know, everyone's like, oh, adrenal fatigue, you gotta go on this protocol, take this supplement, do these vitamins. But look, man, if you have your nutrition on check and you're eating a healthy diet aimed for health and for this specific condition, if your digestion's on check, if your exercise, if your mindset, if your blood sugar's on check, dude, you're gonna feel great. Okay? It's going to solve itself. But people, they're like, oh, what do you mean meat, rice, and vegetables? That's too restrictive and blah, blah, blah. Dude, what the fuck, man? Try it. Try it. People go crazy. They don't want to solve their issues. They want to keep on with this endless loop of sickness. So anyway, yeah, leave your questions and comments down below. I'll be happy to answer anything you have to say. I hope this has helped, and I'll talk to you soon.